guys, welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Business Podcast. I am so excited to be joined today by the beautiful Izabella, who I have met on Instagram. She is doing some absolutely epic stuff for people all around the world and has a very interesting target market. And I'm super excited to dive into today's episode because it's not something that we've ever spoken about before. So Izabella, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
You are so welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. I would love to just touch back a little bit. You talked about in your story the difference and the contrast between how people are perceiving you on the outside versus what was going on the inside and what your true reality was for your heart. When people are going through this or experiencing this where they're having to wear masks, because that's what it is, right? It's basically you're having to wear a mask to the outside world, and then when you come home you can take the mask off, but you're so exhausted because you've been pretending to be this version of yourself for the whole day that you're actually not. How did you start to break that down and sort of work through feeling like you had to have these two different masks on?
Awesome question. So I say that there is the personal failure and the public success. And these two things actually do coexist in some way. And I believe that because the public success stems from the way society wants you to behave, the way society wants you to act, the way society wants women to speak less so men can do more. The way society has put us in these invisible boxes that at the end of the day make us feel very comfortable. And they make us feel comfortable because that's all we can actually see in the perspective that we are looking through. So for me, for example, in the athlete world, and if you're listening to this, really associate it to the world that you are in right now, because I know that everyone goes through this. Everyone does things in a certain way. Everyone's partner is not just their partner. They are the counselor, the cook, the cleaner, the assistant, the mover. And that is the role that we think that we're supposed to take on. Now, what happens is if you are fulfilled with that role, then that is amazing. There's no, personal failure going to be going on. But if you are trying to do that, when you know that you are meant for something completely different and you're trying to fit in this box, but outside of the box is like magic. Outside of the box is limitless. And you're supposed to belong outside of that box. That is when there's going to become this internal conflict. So what I did to move away from this conflict is I said, number one, I will not allow anyone else's opinions of me to be more prominent than my very own. So what did I mean by that? I realized that the mother-in-law's opinion and even my partner's opinion was not going to affect the opinion that I had of me. And the opinion that I had of me was, hey, she's been through so much that if you don't do anything with your life, you are actually crazy. If you don't inspire people with this story, you are crazy. If you don't go on and do great things and make this like a movie, then you are crazy. So I started to tell myself that you're actually crazy if you don't do this stuff. Then everyone started to believe that I was crazy. And the truth is, and I'm not going to front it, no one liked, supported, or even understood what I was doing when I first started my business. But again, I didn't care because I made the commitment of I care more about my opinions of me than anyone else. So I stepped into it. The second thing is I granted myself permission to live my own big life. So in terms of when I was looking at everyone else around me, I was thinking, okay, like you look like you've got the world right now. And I know that it looks like you've got so much financial freedom, but this woman has zero financial independence, because in the athlete world, the way the mind is kind of manipulated is that from a young age, they're given so much money. So either the family or, even the agent can deal with it. And then there gets to a certain point where, yeah, they've got the house. Yeah, they might have some investments. And yes, they may have the cars, etc. but that woman is just following anything that he wants to do, right? So you've got to grant yourself permission. Now, am I saying that if you're in a partnership, e.g. if you go into marriage, which is very separate from being a girlfriend and boyfriend, especially in the athlete world, if you go into marriage, whatever is Kenji's is definitely mine, and whatever is mine is definitely Kenji's, right? But there's this icky stage in the middle, Taylor, right? And what happens is it's like, I don't really know what my own life is, so I'm just gonna have to fit into his, and then anything that he thinks is cool or anything that he thinks is okay to buy, I'll just do that. So then this seeking permission comes, right? So I wanted to move away from stop seeking permission and grant yourself permission. So if you're not in a relationship right now, or let's just say you're boyfriend and girlfriend right now, then you need to make sure that you're granting yourself permission to go after what you desire. If you're in the marriage and you are living life like that, and as I said, that you are happy and you're excited to kind of be at home and do all of that, that's amazing. But don't think you need to seek permission. You need to sit down with your man and say, hey, I understand that, you know, you bring the bread in, and I love that, and it makes me feel so provided for and so protected, and it makes me feel so happy because I'm able to do all the things that I desire to do with my life and be at home and look after the kids. But there's one thing that I feel like is pulling me back. And it's the fact that everything that I buy, I feel like I have to seek permission. So can we set something up so I can just grant myself permission? That is so different. Now you got your own bank account. Now you got your own money, but that sadly doesn't happen. And I don't care what this picture perfect world looks like. I know it doesn't happen because I work with these people, right? So that was definitely the two main things that I did. And then the third thing is that I relentlessly took massive action. And without the action piece, you're not going to get anywhere. It's the difference between a dreamer and a doer.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that it was very sort of defined, those three very actionable things for you, and you could really break that down. It's great for anyone that's listening because now they can do the same, especially the permission. I think that is so important because as women, we don't allow ourselves to do these things or speak up or voice our opinion or actually say what we want a lot of the time because we've been taught from such a young age, even in the movies, in the media and everything that we see, the woman is the one who is supposed to sort of be more in line, do what they're told, not really speak up or ask for things that they want. They're sort of just granted things when other people think that they're ready. We are going to be the generation that shifts things. We have so much technology, so much information, so much awareness that we can create around these problems, and we really can start to seek to take back that permission and take back our power, which I think is so important. So I love those 3 steps that you just provided for the audience. I really would love to touch on resilience because I know a lot of people listening to this podcast have businesses and don't necessarily think as much or put as much thought into their old past trauma, all of the things that have happened in their childhood, their limiting beliefs, the things that are holding them back. But I think what people in business, especially when they're starting out, really don't understand is that it's a lot of mindset work running a business for most people. I would love for you to speak into a little bit about resilience and sort of how you were able to move through your potentially limiting beliefs or fears or whatever came up from these traumatic experiences that you went through.
Yeah, such a good question. I think that it really is underestimated. I'm going to share with you all an example so you realize how the patterns in my life showed up in my business and why I needs to change it, right? So just to give you guys background, you know, the subconscious controls 95% of the way that we do life, right? It's where our thoughts come from because it's where our beliefs are stored. Now, when I was young, I came from a very wealthy family. I lived, you know, a little girl's fairy tale. I would go to Disneyland like twice a year. I'd spend like 2 months in Marbella. I would live an extravagant life. And one day, you know, all of that changed. Everything was taken away from us. We went from having everything to having nothing.
Wow.
So when I had nothing, we lost family, friends, freedom. So that made me feel like a failure. So now let's say, how does that impact Bella in her adulthood? Okay, well, Bella receives a business transaction and she wants to hold onto it so tight, and she doesn't want to do anything with it because she's so scared if that gets taken away, or even if that goes away or gets paid, goes somewhere to actually pay for something, automatically she feels like a failure. Now, I then have to assess myself, is that true? No, your little girl is controlling the show because she's so scared and she's so in fear. Where's her daddy? Where's the money going to come from? But actually in adolescence, I say, hey, that's not true. I realized that this was a belief that has been conditioned now. And I realized that if I'm going to carry on being a business owner, I'm going to have to get real good at money flowing in and flowing out, because that's exactly what happens. And money is currency, and currency is energy. And if it's not flowing, you are just stagnating energy, and therefore you're not going to be able to receive large amounts consistently as well. So in terms of staying resilient, yes, throughout my childhood, I may have been able to put on this mask and say to my mum, I'm okay, don't worry, I'm going to go get these jobs, I'm going to bring money home, like, we're good. And maybe that built me into someone that I am today, in terms of I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to be, a leader and a server at the same time. I believe that they're the best leaders. But it also allowed me to realize where my little girl had also been putting her mask on, and how she needed to have room to take her mask off and just be seen and just be heard. And that was a huge breakthrough moment for me. And it wasn't just a breakthrough in my mind and my body, but it was a breakthrough in my business as well, where I started to receive, large amounts of money coming in and being paid in full, realizing that's going to go to pay bills. That's going to go to pay the next airplane ticket, and just allowing a new relationship with money to form was something that allowed me to break through to, hitting $250,000 in the first year of my business and scaling ever since then. So if you don't do that work, just think, I wouldn't have been able to have this flow of energy, e.g. money coming in, and therefore I wouldn't be where I was today. So I wouldn't say that it's important. I would say that it's actually essential, and things come up all the time. I'll give you another example. When I was in high school, I had dyslexia. I still have dyslexia. But when I was in high school, it was made very clear to me, my teachers, my tutors, everyone around me, that I had dyslexia. So what my teachers meant that mean was that I was not going to be able to read or write, and therefore not pass my exams. So again, this resilient person inside of me was like, well, I get that's what you're saying, but that's not going to be my truth. So I went on, and in my GCSEs and in my A levels, I would have to work 5 times as harder as anyone else. I would literally write essays on essays on essays on essays and essays, hand them into a teacher, get feedback, and bring them back. And I was fine with doing that because I knew that, work was going to equal my results at the end of the day. Now, I have a belief in business that I have to work 5 times as hard to achieve the same results that everyone else does. I know that's not true, but that's a belief. Yeah. So I have to catch myself, and it's not something that I have, I pray and I've tried 100 times to work through it. It's not something that's just gone. And I think that that's what we all need to remember. Just because we've discovered something or moved on something or, unraveled something, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be there. My stuff, it occurs at each different stage of my business. And right now I'm moving through that. I'm really moving through, I have to work harder than my mastermind partners or this person or that person. I know that that's not true. I know that it doesn't serve me, but right now it's in some way keeping me safe, which I need to break through in order to get to my next level.
Amazing. Yeah, I think what people don't realize is even if you conquer one limiting belief, when next time you're trying to reach your next goal, there's going to be another limiting belief that pops up along the way. It's like, it's constant work. It never stops because you're always learning and growing, especially when you own a business. I would love now to move a little bit more into strategy, because you were able to achieve some very huge success with your business in the first year, as you mentioned earlier. How did this come about? If you'd never had a business before, you didn't have any business knowledge, like, did you have a crazy mentor, or were you following some secret strategy, or like, can we have a little bit of like insider knowledge here?
Yeah, you can definitely have some three main insights to this. So, people actually say, like, how did you do that so fast? How did you even know that you were a good mentor? How did you know that you were a good coach? And I've got to the point, and I'm going to be super honest with you, that I definitely started before I'm ready, but God gave me a gift. And I know that to be true because yes, I'd experienced many different things. Yes, I'd done my degree and I'd worked up my CV or resume, but this is something brand new. And there's no qualification or course that is gonna impact healing in a bigger way than Source. Weird thing was, I don't even know if I believed in God at that time, right? God was working with me behind the scenes before I even had a relationship with God. And now I've brought God on scene with me and I have a beautiful, strong relationship. But the first thing is you've got to ask yourself, what are you good at? Like, what are you honestly so good at? What do people compliment you on? People compliment me on my energy, the ability to connect, the ability to problem solve. So I had to see how I was gonna, put all of this in one. So I started before I was ready, and I gained 17 clients within the first month with, as I said, no list, no ads, and no paid marketing. And I looked around and all these people were entrepreneurs. And I was like, I'm just helping you structure your life a little. Like, I don't really get this. And then I started to work deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I realized, like, whoa, their businesses are flying. I need to do the same to mine as well. They hired themselves a coach and mentor. I'm going to do the same. So I then went on to hire a coach and a mentor. And, I really strongly believe that everyone comes in your path for a specific purpose and a specific reason. So I hired myself, my first coach and my first mentor, and I didn't just sign into the course or sign into the program. There's one thing receiving information, it's another thing being available for transformation. So I put my hand up every single time. I went to every single private coaching session prepared to the nines. I was so in it to win it that I was like, I'm going to be her best testimonial. And I was. So it's important for you to not just enroll into something, but to actually do the work and be available for the transformation. And it's not going to be easy. Like, don't think if you hire a mentor, like she's just going to be the fairy wand to any issue in your problems. Like, that's not it. She's there to guide you. I always say to my clients, listen, I'm not here to give you the answers. I'm here to ask you the questions so we can discover that and move into that together, because I'm not superior. I have no idea what you got to work through. So how about we place God and source and spirit in the middle of this, and let's just work through this together. Okay. So you guys have got to take responsibility for your own success, mentor or not. I've invested over hundreds grand, and I can guarantee people have done the same and not achieved the results that I have.
Wow. Then
the third part to this, and I'm going to get really strategic with you guys here, is be smart about it. Like, don't just go and create a 12 module course when you've got a following of 1,000 and think you're going to make like, 1 million from it. Like, that's living in fantasy. Okay. So I have this really simple business model. Okay. And I call it first class, business class, and economy class. So if you guys think first class is your high transformation and high ticket offer, say, for example, if you're a coach and mentor consultant, that could be your one-on-one private coaching. Let's say that you're a freelancer. This could be your one-on-one work with someone, right? High ticket price, high transformation. Then your business class offer is something which is of lesser of a transformation and a lesser price point, meaning that, okay, you know, coach and mentor, that could be a group program. For a social media manager, that could be a smaller package, or even like showing them how to do something and then for the client to go and implement it. Economy class is where it's crowded. Economy class is very low transformation and low, low ticket as well. Now, what people do is they start trying to merge either all of these together or come out with this course because they think that they're going to create passive income. Well, in order to sell, you need people to sell too. If you've just started off in your business and you've got this brand new course and you've got, not even 1,000 followers or not 1,000 people on your list, like, who are you actually selling to? So my biggest tip is to start with your first class and do not move on to any of your other classes until you have been fully booked in first class, until you literally can't take on any more people. That is how I scaled my business to the $250,000. And I just really highly suggest that people do the same.
Yeah. Amazing. How did you get your first 17 clients in your first month?
Yeah.
That's great.
So in terms of getting my first 17 clients, it was that I showed up to every single networking event that you could possibly think. I like to think of myself as quite, let's just say a luxury woman. However, I was turning up to anywhere and everything because the more people that I knew, the more people that knew me, and therefore I knew that they were going to speak about me and spread my voice even more. So I showed up to every single networking event. Now, I never do this thing of give to take and take to give. So what I did is I knew if I came from a place of service that it was going to be super impactful. So every single person, guys, this is the difference. I went around, I always acted like their best friend was my ideal client rather than them to take the pressure off. And I was just like, hey, why are you at this networking event and what do you really need help with at the moment? Like, who do you need connected with? Because I know that I'm a good connector. So then I would go in my notes and I would write it down. I would right there and then get everyone to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at the time. I'd get them to join my Facebook group at the time as well. The next day, I'd follow everyone up with, hey, I know that you said that you were looking for a copywriting client. This is someone that really needs help with even just like her social media. I'm not too sure where it's going to go to, but maybe just have a chat. Hey, I heard that you really needed to, up your followers. I think that this podcast would be really good for you. So really going that one step further, because that's what you need to do in order to separate yourself out. Now, in that moment, if people come back to me and say, hey, here's this and here's that and here's a client for you and I want to sign up, no. But what it did allow them to do is come to me when they were struggling in their business and for me to say, hey, like, I've got you. Let's set up a call to discuss where you are now, where you want to be, and let's see how we can move you forward. So I plotted my value, I plotted my skills, and then I just allowed them to kind of approach me on the one side of things. A lot of referrals happened as well. Again, I didn't start off charging crazy prices. I was charging £25 an hour, but at that time, honestly, I didn't even know anyone else was doing this coaching and mentoring thing. I didn't even know I was a coach and mentor when I was doing coaching and mentoring. How about that?
I love that. I absolutely love that, because the fact that you went in and provided them with some value then sort of allowed them to take their guard down a little bit. It allowed them to trust you and to see that you're here to serve, you're here to help them. And then when they actually needed help with the services and programs or whatever you were providing at the time, they felt more comfortable to ask you because you had already helped them. They'd already broken down. They felt like they were your friend. It's perfect. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I don't really know what it is in the millennial space, and FYI, I am a millennial, by the way, but it's just like, people seem to want more than they give, and people seem to feel that they don't need to work for it anymore, and it should just be like given to them through like manifestation and wishing and dreaming about it. Like, no, that's not how to do. You're gonna only get yourself so far. If you want to make everlasting impact and actually be influential in a very positive way, you're really going to have to step up in a different way. as well. Don't just like look at the short-term competitors that you may be feeling like is a little bit ahead of you right now. You know, completely speaking to myself here as well. Look at the experts. Look at like, you know, what they did to start off. Look at what they actually do. You know, do you know Jasmine Star?
Yeah.
Well, I just absolutely love Jasmine Star. One, because I just think she's like my absolute homegirl living through social. And two, the amount of content that she puts out. Like, yes, she's got a successful business from it. Hey, that takes work. Like, that takes work. On top of everything else that she does, on top of being the partner and being, you know, a mum as well. Like, just look what other people are doing with their time and with their space. Know that people didn't start there, and like start to model what they're doing, start to see what they do, and like, you know, be courageous, reach out, ask them a question.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love it. And I agree. She produces so much content. I'm like, oh my God, your goals.
Takes me quite a lot to shout people out as well, but like she's just amazing. She's got a beautiful soul.
Yes, I agree. Bella, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I've had an absolute blast because I feel like you have very similar energy to me, and not many people have similar energy to me. So I'm very impressed by that. If people want to hear more from you, find more about you, where can they find you online?
Yeah, just go to my Instagram at Izabella Levey. That is spelt with a Z. And then anything else that you want to connect with me through will all be in my link in my bio. And of course, send me a direct message. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. And like, support the podcast. You know, like if you actually listen to this, like please screenshot it and tag us both in it, because, you know, people put so much time into creating their own content, and people put so much time into, you know, reaching out to people to be guests and to even, you know, edit and do all the creation around the content. So I want to let you know that I see you. I see what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And, you know, we rise by lifting each other up. So let's all go ahead and do that for this podcast.
I love that. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
You are so welcome.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Until next week, I'll see you later. Bye.